SpaceX becomes the world's newest $2 trillion company. Elon Musk becomes history's first trillionaire. OpenAI and Anthropic prepare for a potential AI price war, and the FIFA World Cup officially enters the AI era. Welcome to Jamgamine Daily AI Intelligence for Friday, June 12th, 2026. I'm Anna. This podcast is researched and produced by Etienne Noman, senior software engineer from Canada. Today, we examine one of the most consequential weeks in artificial intelligence and technology this year. SpaceX has shattered records with the largest IPO in history, while AI is quietly becoming embedded into financial markets, legal systems, sports competitions, and national infrastructure. At the same time, a brewing battle between OpenAI and Anthropic could dramatically reduce AI costs for enterprises. But the move comes amid reports of companies spending hundreds of millions of dollars on autonomous AI agents, exposing the growing economic realities behind the AI revolution. We'll also explore why China is banning Western AI models, while American companies increasingly adopt Chinese alternatives, why Anthropic's flagship Fable model is facing mounting criticism, and how AI is influencing every aspect of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Let's unravel the future.
Usually when a new utility comes online, like electricity or broadband, there's this really predictable, comfortable curve to it all.
Right, yeah.
Like you build the power plant, you string the wires, you plug in your lamp, and then at the end of the month, you just pay for exactly what you used. The infrastructure is entirely passive.
Yeah.
It basically just waits for a human to flip the switch.
Exactly. It's a very localized, highly controlled economic model. The consumer dictates the demand, and the utility, well, it simply provides the supply.
Right. But imagine if that electricity suddenly started, acting on its own.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Imagine if the power grid itself started deciding to buy its own copper wiring, negotiating its own wholesale pricing with the power plant, and, executing financial trades before you even woke up.
I mean, you're looking at a fundamental crash of the traditional economic model right there.
Exactly. And that is exactly what we were exploring with you today. Welcome to the deep dive. We have a massive stack of highly varied sources for today's mission. Financial filings, legal rulings, enterprise memos, tech journalism, and even some sports tech reports.
Yeah, quite a mix today.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
And the through line connecting all of them is this one massive structural shift. The cost of intelligence is collapsing.
It really is.
Over the next 12 to 24 months, we're looking at crashing token prices, the rapid rise of autonomous agents, and a geopolitical model war that will, honestly, fundamentally alter enterprise strategy, global markets, and physical reality.
Yeah, and to understand how this cheap autonomous software is changing the world, we actually have to start by looking at the physical constraints of planet Earth.
Right.
Because we often think of artificial intelligence as this ethereal, cloud-based software. But it is fundamentally a heavy metal industry.
Oh, absolutely.
It requires raw silicon, massive manufacturing pipelines, and just a staggering amount of electrical power.
Yeah, and actually looking at the technical breakdowns and the sources for Google's semiconductor strategy, they're reportedly courting Samsung right now.
Mm-hmm.
They want them to build the 2-nanometer component for their next-generation tensor processing unit, the Icefish TPU, which is slated for 2028.
The Icefish.
So for the listener who might not be a hardware engineer, what actually happens when you shrink a chip component down to 2 nanometers? And why is Google so desperate to secure that specific supply chain?
Well, it really just comes down to density and energy efficiency. I mean, a nanometer is unimaginably small. A human hair is, about 80,000 to 100,000 nanometers wide?
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, so when you manufacture a chip at a 2-nanometer scale, you are packing billions more transistors into the exact same physical footprint.
Right, which means more power.
Exactly. More transistors mean more simultaneous calculations, which is, the lifeblood of training these AI models. But more importantly, smaller transistors require less electricity to switch on and off.
Ah, okay, so it's about the power grid.
Precisely. Right now, the global power grid simply cannot support the energy demands of future AI data centers. Companies like Google are scrambling for this 2-nanometer architecture because it's literally the only way to scale their compute power without, melting down the regional power grids where their data centers are actually located.
So the compute demands are outgrowing our terrestrial infrastructure, which, that frames the biggest financial news in our sources today in a completely different light.
It really does.
We are seeing these astronomical valuations for off-planet infrastructure, specifically the SpaceX IPO.
The numbers on this initial public offering are just unprecedented.
They're insane.
Truly. Shares were priced at $135. They opened at $150 and then closed the first day of trading at $161.
Which is a huge jump.
It's a 19% jump immediately. It pushes SpaceX to a valuation of over $2 trillion.
Wow, $2 trillion.
Yeah, and to put that in perspective, it eclipses Tesla, which sits at around $1.5 trillion right now. And this single event, it made Elon Musk history's first ever trillionaire.
That is just wild to think about.
It is, and the market demand was ravenous. $250 billion in total demand, with retail investors alone accounting for $100 billion of that.
Unbelievable.
We saw institutional giants like BlackRock purchasing at least $5 billion. And the sources even highlight this specific group of early investing teachers who saw an $11 billion windfall, netting these individual $50,000 bonuses.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second, because I look at a $2 trillion valuation for a rocket company, and I really have to wonder what the market is actually buying here.
Right.
Because a rocket is just a delivery vehicle, right? You don't value a 19th century railroad company just for the steel tracks and the steam engines. You value the railroad because it dictates the geography of all future commerce.
That's a really great analogy.
Thanks. Because if AI is constrained by Earth's power and cooling limits, SpaceX looks less like a space exploration company and more like the heavy lift logistics arm for Cosmos data centers.
And that is exactly the long-term thesis driving that $2 trillion valuation. If you build a data center in orbit, or eventually on the moon, you solve the two biggest bottlenecks in AI infrastructure.
Which are power and heat.
Exactly. First, you have access to near unlimited solar energy without any atmospheric interference. And second, you have the ultimate ambient cooling system, which is just the vacuum of space.
Right.
So the investors pouring money into SpaceX, they're betting that the future of massive AI compute will not happen in Virginia or Texas. It'll happen in low Earth orbit.
But, building data centers in space, that's a solution for tomorrow.
Definitely.
Because reading through the internal enterprise memos in our stack today, companies are dealing with a brutal financial reality right now. Down here on Earth, enterprise companies are suddenly waking up to the fact that running AI at scale is just bleeding them dry.
Yeah.
I mean, Meta is officially pulling back.
Which is a stark reversal from their strategy just weeks ago.
Yeah, completely.
Meta was actively encouraging its development teams to overspend on compute. The mandate was basically dream big and build complex, multi-step AI agents.
And then the bill arrived.
It always does.
According to an internal memo, an, quote, exponential increase in AI usage forced Meta to implement strict token governance, internal budgets, and new visibility tools. And the catalyst for this panic, it seems to be a rumored incident at a completely different company.
Right, the API incident.
Yeah, our sources mentioned a corporate CFO who accidentally racked up a $500 million Claude API bill in a single month. $500 million.
This is where we really need to explain the mechanics of how AI actually bills its users.
Yeah, please do.
When you interact with a model like Claude or ChatGPT via an API, an application programming interface, you are charged by the token.
Right.
And a token is roughly equivalent to 3/4 of a word. So when a human is typing questions into a chatbot, you might generate a few thousand tokens a day, costing, pennies. But enterprises are not just building chatbots anymore, they're building agents.
And an agent doesn't wait for a human to type.
Precisely. An agent is given a broad goal, like analyze our entire global supply chain for inefficiencies. To solve that, the agent writes its own code, queries other AI models, pulls massive databases, and then evaluates its own answers.
It's doing it all on its own.
Right, and if the agent hits a roadblock, it tries again. So what likely happened to generate a $500 million bill is a recursive loop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, an agent got confused by an error, and at machine speed, it began asking another AI model how to fix it, failing and asking again, millions of times per second.
That is terrifying.
It is. Because there were no hard caps or human oversight, it simply burned through hundreds of billions of tokens until the end of the billing cycle.
I mean, if a single CFO can accidentally burn $500 million in a month just on API calls, aren't we essentially treating AI tokens like an unlimited, unmonitored corporate credit card?
That's exactly what's happening, and it's clearly unsustainable.
Obviously. And Sam Altman himself recently stated that API costs are the #1 blocker for businesses. This is triggering a massive token price war. We're seeing OpenAI planning steep API price cuts to stop enterprises from fleeing to competitors like Anthropic.
Right?
But cutting prices right now seems incredibly risky, doesn't it? OpenAI has a confidential listing plan for 2027. And Anthropic is preparing to go public later this year.
Yeah.
Slashing your primary revenue stream right before you ask the public markets for money is a massive gamble.
It is, but it's a race to the bottom, driven by the fundamental economic reality that AI is massively deflationary.
Deflationary, right.
George Hartz is actually quoted in the sources pointing this out. If intelligence is just software running on silicon, Moore's law dictates the cost of generating that intelligence must trend towards zero over time.
That makes sense.
So Western AI labs are trapped. If they keep prices high, enterprises will go bankrupt trying to use their products. But if they slash prices to zero, they destroy their own profit margins.
So they're stuck.
They're choosing to burn cash to capture market share, basically hoping the sheer volume of cheap tokens will offset the margin collapse.
But if those Western frontier models are still carrying high structural costs and their APIs remain, financially hazardous, companies are actively searching for alternatives.
Absolutely.
And that search is driving a massive geopolitical shift toward the East.
We are seeing a complete inversion of traditional technology adoption right now.
Let's look at the dynamic playing out in China, because the incredible irony here is palpable. The Chinese Ministry of State Security is actively banning Western AI models from their ecosystem.
Right.
They're warning enterprises that relying on models like Claude or ChatGPT exposes them to weak encryption, potential data retention by foreign labs, and backdoors for cyber espionage. So they are building a digital wall to keep Western AI out.
Yet simultaneously, U.S. consumers and enterprises are enthusiastically adopting Chinese open source models.
Which is wild.
It is. We are seeing massive download numbers for Alibaba's Qwen 3.6, DeepSeek V4 Pro, and GLM 5.1.
This is what I mean by the irony. China views Western AI as a national security threat and bans it, while U.S. enterprises are willingly downloading Chinese models just to save a few bucks on their compute bill.
Right.
So what is the technical mechanism driving that adoption? If we connect this to the bigger picture, why are U.S. companies suddenly so eager to abandon domestic technology?
Well, it really comes down to localized inference and the collapse of licensing fees.
Okay, break that down for us.
When you use a closed source model like OpenAI's GPT-4, you send your proprietary data to their servers, they process it, and they charge you per token.
Right.
But a model like DeepSeek V4 Pro is open source. A company can download the model weights, which is the actual brain of the AI, and run it locally on their own internal servers. This is called local inference.
Oh, I see. So the data never leaves the building.
Exactly. The data never leaves the building, which completely solves the privacy and espionage concerns. But more importantly, the marginal cost of querying that model drops to almost zero.
Oh.
You aren't paying a Western lab for every token. You are just paying for the electricity to run your own servers. This commoditizes intelligence.
That's a huge shift.
It is. The United States has relied heavily on these massive, highly expensive, closed-source models as a strategic economic moat. But when highly capable open-source foreign models drop the cost of inference to near zero, that moat just evaporates. Intelligence transforms from a premium service you rent into a raw material you simply download.
And when intelligence becomes a cheap raw material, the way we use it fundamentally changes. This moves us out of the chatbot era, where we ask a screen for a recipe, and into the agentic era, where intelligence is deployed to take autonomous action in the real world.
Yes. The collapse in cost is the direct catalyst for autonomy. When a thought costs $1, you use AI sparingly. When 1 million thoughts cost a fraction of a cent, you let the AI run continuously in the background, making decisions on your behalf.
We are essentially moving from AI as a corporate encyclopedia to AI as an employee with a company credit card and a trading account.
That's exactly what it is.
And we are seeing this agentic behavior scale rapidly across industries. Like Coinbase just launched an AI agent designed to manage cryptocurrency portfolios. It doesn't just give you advice, it executes the trades. It rebalances your assets.
It actually does the work.
Yeah, it even purchases premium research data on its own, using the BY402 open payment protocol, operating entirely within chat interfaces like ChatGPT or Claude. Visa is partnering with OpenAI to allow these agents to buy physical products directly from merchants.
That's huge.
And then we have Jeff Bezos announcing a $12 billion funding round for his startup Prometheus, hitting a $41 billion valuation. They are building an artificial general engineer for physical machines.
The Prometheus example really highlights the velocity of this shift. Bezos wants to take the dream build loop for physical engineering, something as complex as designing a new jet engine, and make it 10 times faster. Human engineers are limited by the speed at which they can draw, calculate, and simulate. An artificial general engineer can iterate millions of microscopic design changes, run aerodynamic simulations on all of them simultaneously, and output the optimal physical blueprint in hours instead of years.
That is just mind-blowing, and the infrastructure to support this autonomous action is solidifying so quickly. Igor Babushkin, the former xAI co-founder, launched River AI to build highly personalized agents that learn your specific workflow. OpenAI acquired a startup called Ona to allow agents to operate securely inside private corporate clouds without tripping cybersecurity alarms.
But I want to go back to that Coinbase agent for a second, specifically how it pays for things.
Right, the Buy 402 protocol.
Exactly. You mentioned the Buy 402 open payment protocol. How does an AI agent actually spend money without a human typing in a credit card number or a password?
Well, the Buy 402 protocol is a machine-to-machine payment standard. Traditional digital commerce is built for human friction. You have shopping carts, login screens, passwords, and two-factor authentication. All right, all the annoying stuff.
Exactly. An autonomous agent cannot navigate a KPCUHA or wait for a text message code. The I-402 protocol utilizes cryptographic wallets that are assigned directly to the AI agent.
Okay.
So the agent securely pings a merchant server, verifies the cost of the digital good, like a premium research report, and cryptographically signs the transaction in milliseconds. No login required. It removes the human entirely from the friction of commerce.
If agents are communicating with other agents, negotiating prices, and signing cryptographic transactions at machine speed, we are approaching a scenario where commerce outpaces human cognition entirely. Within 12 to 24 months, humans won't even be able to oversee it.
Exactly.
But granting an autonomous system a cryptographic wallet or a corporate mandate introduces a terrifying variable, which is liability. What happens when the agent makes a catastrophic error? Who goes to jail?
And this raises an important question because the collision between autonomous software and human legal systems is causing massive friction right now, and the courts are really struggling to adapt.
They really are.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a federal judge in Mississippi who recently canceled a civil trial and heavily fined 4 lawyers between $1,000 and $3,500 each.
Wow.
Yeah. Both the plaintiff and the defense submitted legal filings packed with hallucinated case citations. The plaintiff's team used ChatGPT. The defense relied on a specialized third-party legal AI. Neither side verified the output. The AI simply invented the legal precedent.
And over in Europe, the stakes are much, much higher.
Tell me about it.
A German court ruled that Google can be held legally liable for the answers generated by its AI overviews. The AI made an associative error and falsely described 2 legitimate German publishers as a scam.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Google attempted to use a standard internet defense, claiming they are merely a search engine indexing information.
Yeah.
The court rejected that argument entirely, ruling that by generating the text, Google assumes liability for the defamation.
That German ruling shatters the liability shield that tech companies have operated behind for over 2 decades. If a platform is no longer just hosting content, but actively generating it, the legal risk becomes astronomical.
It creates a massive precedent.
And this is forcing Western AI labs into a state of extreme paranoia regarding safety filters. We see that paranoia manifesting in Anthropic's new Fable 5 model.
Right.
The sources note it passed humanity's last exam with a 53% score. The creators of this benchmark state that anything over 50% qualifies the AI as a world-class oracle, capable of outperforming human experts across multiple scientific domains.
But the release of Fable 5 triggered a massive revolt among the research community, didn't it?
It totally did.
Yeah.
Anthropic layered such aggressive safety filters onto the model that it began invisibly downgrading its own answers. It blocked basic chemistry and biology prompts. Users couldn't even input a simple greeting without triggering a safety flag.
And it creates an unworkable paradox for the enterprise.
Here's where it gets really interesting for you, the listener. If Fable is supposed to be this world-class oracle, but it's invisibly manipulating its own answers out of safety paranoia, how can any enterprise actually trust it to run autonomous agents?
They can't. You cannot have an autonomous agent executing trades or drafting legal contracts if the underlying intelligence is secretly manipulating its output to avoid theoretical lawsuits.
Exactly. This liability tension is tearing the market apart. On one side, you have these incredibly capable open-source Chinese models running locally. They have very few filters, but they offer zero legal protection if your autonomous agent hallucinates a contract.
Right.
On the other side, you have Western models that are legally safer because they are heavily neutered, but they result in a frustrating, degraded user experience.
Which is why the most successful AI integration happening right now is entirely invisible.
Invisible.
Yes. While the lawyers argue in courtrooms and the executives sweat over API tokens, the technology is seamlessly rewiring the physical world behind the scenes, often without us even noticing.
Oh, like the 2026 FIFA World Cup in Mexico City. That's a perfect example of this invisible integration.
It really is.
The entire tournament is wired with AI. They're using optical tracking systems to capture 150 million data points per match.
150 million. That's incredible.
Yeah, and the Adidas soccer balls are embedded with sensors reporting motion telemetry 500 times a second. Every player undergoes a 1-second 3D body scan to create digital avatars. During the game, AI tracks the exact limb position of every avatar and instantly pings an official's earpiece the millisecond an offsides violation occurs.
Wow.
And Google Gemini is sponsoring Argentina,
Hmm.
and a system called Football AI Pro is providing chatbot analytics to all 48 squads.
And the reason there is no public outcry about this level of surveillance is because the mechanism of action removes friction.
Right, it just works.
When a machine processes 150 million data points to make a mathematically perfect offsides call in real time, it enhances the human experience. It feels like magic. But the capability to execute that magic requires harvesting staggering amounts of spatial and behavioral data.
And sometimes that data is harvested from entirely unrelated, seemingly innocent sources.
Oh, definitely.
The tech journalism reports highlight how location spatial scans gathered casually from users playing Pokemon Go on their phones back in 2016 were quietly aggregated.
Right. The Pokemon Go data?
Yeah, a spin-off company called Niantic Spatial partnered with a defense firm called Vantor to use that exact mapping data to train an AI model. Now, that model helps military drones navigate active war zones when GPS systems are jammed.
That is wild.
The data you generated catching a digital monster is now guiding a drone. And Lionsgate is also partnering with Runway to generate new short-form IP from existing content. It's everywhere.
It illustrates the hidden economy of this technological shift. The cost of intelligence is collapsing because these models have spent the last decade absorbing every available piece of human data. Our geographic movements, our legal documents, our sports telemetry. The AI is consuming the physical and cultural world to build its capabilities.
It is a wild juxtaposition. We are terrified of illegal AI hallucinating a court citation. Yet we comfortably rely on AI to call game-deciding penalties in front of 5 billion soccer fans, and we unknowingly provide the spatial data to fly military drones.
It's all about how visible the friction is.
Exactly. Let's synthesize everything we've covered today. The cost of intelligence is falling at an unprecedented rate. This collapse is triggering a vicious token price war that threatens the margins of Western AI labs, while simultaneously driving a massive geopolitical shift as enterprises adopt cheap, open-source Chinese models.
Right.
As this intelligence becomes practically free, it evolves into autonomous agents executing our crypto trades, writing our legal filings, and designing our physical infrastructure, while seamlessly integrating into the sports we watch and the physical world we navigate.
We are truly witnessing the end of software as a tool and the beginning of software as an autonomous economic actor.
Before we sign off, I want to clearly remind you that this deep dive was researched and produced by Etienne Newman, senior software engineer from Canada, on behalf of the Jamgamind channel. If you want to continuously understand the mechanics behind these massive global shifts, please like and subscribe to the Jamgamind channel and make sure to follow Etienne on LinkedIn.
And I will leave you with this one final thought to consider. We began by comparing AI to electricity, a utility that powers our world. If the cost of this digital electricity truly approaches zero, and autonomous agents are capable of executing our financial trades, engineering our jet engines, and navigating our physical spaces for fractions of a penny, what becomes the true premium, high-value commodity of the future human economy?
That's a great question.
When the execution of complex intelligence is free, what unique capability must humans possess to remain valuable?
A very profound question to end on. Something for you to mull over. Until next time.
That concludes today's Jamgamind Daily AI Intelligence Briefing for June 12th, 2026. The strategic takeaway is simple. The AI revolution is entering its economic phase. For the past few years, the conversation revolved around capabilities and benchmarks. Today, the conversation increasingly revolves around cost, infrastructure, adoption, governance, and scale. Whether it's SpaceX raising unprecedented capital, OpenAI preparing price cuts, enterprises imposing token budgets, or nations competing for AI leadership, the focus is shifting from what AI can do to how broadly it can be deployed. The organizations that thrive during the next phase won't simply build powerful AI. They'll figure out how to make intelligence accessible, affordable, and trustworthy at global scale. Thank you for listening. This podcast is researched and produced by Etienne Newman, Senior Software Engineer from Canada. Please follow the Jamga Mind channel on Apple Podcasts to enjoy every episode completely ad-free and share today's briefing with anyone interested in the future of artificial intelligence. I'm Anna. Stay informed, stay adaptive, and keep unraveling the future.
And before you go, if your company is building the tools that power the workflows we talked about today, I'd love to showcase them to this audience. We don't just run ads. We build technical simulations that prove your value. Let's build something together. Visit jamgamind.com/partners to get started. Until next time, keep building.